Hey there, everybody. Franklin Taggart here. It is time for the virtual coffee break. Here's my coffee. Grab your beverage and let's have a chat for just a minute, shall we? Oh, here's what's on my mind today. I am currently reading the book that Questlove recently released. I think it's. I have to look it up now to remember what the title is. It's about creativity. That's what I know for sure, but let's take a look and get the title here for you. Creative Quest. That's what it is. Boy, I'm in a place where I'm really looking forward to having a few days off next week, and I'm really glad that I won't have to be remembering a lot of things because my memory right now just needs a real break. Anyhow, Creative Quest is the book that I'm reading right now. In addition, another book that I'm reading right now in my discussion group with my friend Teresa is The Rise of the Creative Class. Now, the thing that's really interesting about both of these books is that they are both talking about creativity and creative career paths and creative contributions to the economy and all of those kinds of things. And I've read a lot of books about creativity. But one of the things that I've found is that understanding things about creativity. For example, I've got a friend and a former client who took like major classes in creativity and creative process and stuff like that. And what's really interesting to me is that learning about creativity is different from being creative. And it's interesting also that the observations that an author can have when they're writing about creativity, the observations that they can have aren't comprehensive and they aren't complete because our perception only captures a fraction of what's really going on. So a lot of times when you're trying to be more creative and you're looking for creative inspiration by reading books about creativity, very often I feel like they're going to fall short because they don't capture the whole story. They can't. We're not designed to take in comprehensive information. We're designed to be able to sort pieces of information and create some kind of a construct around what that means or what it is. So it's like when we think about the creative process, we try to like make steps out of it. Well, one of the things that's really interesting is that when we start to make steps out of it, all of a sudden we're cutting out a big part of the story that is kind of the gestalt of the whole thing, or the context, or the way that things are happening around the creativity that are influencing the creative process. So one of the things that I've always been fascinated by are people who do replicas of famous artworks. And they do everything that they can to replicate every brush stroke the way that it was done originally. And even in those situations, you can tell the difference between the original and the replica. And the reason for that is because the circumstances in which that artwork was crafted are very different from the ones in the studio where the replica was being made. So it's not just the brush strokes, it's the room in which the brush strokes happened. It also could be that the original artist, could have been going through some kind of an experience of their own that influenced the way that the artwork was done. So it is important, I think, to study the techniques of great art and great creativity. However, I think it's also really important to understand that when we try to replicate something, that it's going to become something of our own that's based on where we are in the moment. And I think that that's one of the things about reading books about creativity that we've got to understand and kind of take them with a grain of salt, They can't be 100%, accurate. They can only be, the best observations that could have been made in the moment. They can't be a comprehensive, exhaustive, work on the whole thing. So as you're starting to look at how to become a better artist, a better creator, a better musician, a better author, whatever it is that you are trying to improve on, keep in mind that the steps that were written down by the person who did it the first time are incomplete, and we don't know the whole story of what's going on. So you can go ahead and take those steps, but the place that you are in your life is going to inform the result that you get. And the replica that you make is not going to be like the original. It may have some similarities, but you'll be able to tell the difference because you are bringing your own talent, your own context, your own experiences, the things that are influencing your life right now, your emotional state. All of those things are coming into play, just like they were the first time when the original was made. Those are the things that can't be accounted for in a book on creativity, right? I think the thing that's really important when we're learning about being creative is just to engage in our own creative process. And I think naturally there's a tendency as you mature as an artist or as a creator, I think there's a tendency anyway to start to be able to gain a somewhat more objective view of the subjective experience. And that'll come. You don't have to force that. That'll come naturally the more that you do what you do. I think it's also important for you to have mentors and some, guidance in your craft. In Questlove's book, he talked a lot about the mentors and apprenticeships that he went through as he was learning his craft of music. What's very interesting to me is that he was playing some drum beats, in the audio version of the book that sounded very much like some of the classic drum beats of the 60s and 70s and even into the 80s. And yet you could still hear, you could actually identify that it was him playing because of these little personal idiosyncrasies that he brings to the style, right? So the thing that I think is very important is that if you want to learn about creativity, just go ahead and engage in a creative project or engage in a creative activity and just let yourself have the experience and learn from that, and then come back, because then you'll have a context in which those other things may make a lot more sense. They may or may not be useful, but you'll have a way of understanding based on your own experience rather than an incomplete version of somebody else's experience, right? If you want to be creative, just get out there and do it. So those are my thoughts for the day, and I hope that you're having a good whatever it is where you are. I know that most of the country is getting ready for an Arctic blast over the next 24, 48 hours. Right now it's 48 degrees here, so I'm going to go take the dog for a walk while I still can, and then I will be back again tomorrow with another coffee break. Thank you, as always, for your time and your attention. So long.